Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. An amazing place and a fantastic crowd. So when was the last time you've seen our country win at anything? We don't win anymore. True, that's true. We don't win anymore, whether it's ISIS or whether it's China with our trade agreements. No matter what it is, it seems that we don't seem to have it. We make 5-to-1 deals. We get Bergdahl, they get killers that are now leaders that are all back and fighting us. These are the kind of deals we make. The nuclear deal is a disaster. This is going to lead to nuclear proliferation all over. You're going to have nukes. You're going to have countries fighting like hell to get them, all because we have people in there that are either incompetent or there's something maybe even worse going on. I happen to think they're incompetent. You look at what's happening. You look at what's happening everywhere in our country. Now, our real unemployment rate, you know that's not 5.6. It's really probably 19 to 21%. That's really, when I'm building buildings, and I'm building many of them, every time I go to a job, when people know I'm there, I have hundreds of people at the street. They want to see me. They want to come in and they want to be part of it. They want to know, can they get a job? That's not 5% and 5.6%. The real number is astronomical. You look at what's going with various things that our country is doing, and then you hear politicians, and all you hear is all talk, no action. And I'm actually disappointed with a lot of the Republican politicians. I'm a conservative Republican. But you hear something, whether it's Obamacare, which is a disaster, which has to be repealed and replaced, whether it's we're going to cut Social Security, because that's what they're saying. Every Republican wants to do a big number on Social Security. They want to do it on Medicare. They want to do it on Medicaid. And we can't do that. And it's not fair to the people that have been paying in for years, and now all of a sudden they want to be cut because the Republicans and the Democrats don't know how to bring jobs back to our country. If I run and if I win, I will bring jobs back, believe me. We'll bring them back from China, where they're ripping us like you've never seen. You know, China just did a big cut on their currency. They're knocking the hell, they're manipulating it to a level they've never done it before. Nobody thought they could do it. Nobody thought they could get away with it again. And they're doing it. And it's taking tremendous business away from the U.S. And what they're doing is they're making it impossible for our companies to compete. Impossible. A friend of mine, and as you know, Japan is back, they're doing the big devaluations, is a terrific guy, a great contractor. He's an excavator. And he went out and he called me the other day. He's very upset. I said, what's your problem? He said, I just put in a huge order for Komatsu tractors. I said, why did you do that? He said, because Japan has so strongly devalued the yen, so strongly, that it's impossible for Caterpillar to compete. And he was very, very sad. And he's going to have now Komatsus. Big problem. Another friend of mine, great guy, manufacturer, you know, they talk about free trade. There's no free trade. Free trade's good if you have smart people on your side. But it's a disaster if you have stupid people or incompetent people, which is what we have. So a friend of mine, big manufacturer, he goes out and he's trying to get business with China. And he calls me and goes, it's impossible. I can't get my product into China. And they want to charge a huge surtax. It's going to be like massive, like 42%. I said, does the world know this? What China's doing is incredible. What Mexico, that's the new China, is doing to this country at the border, where it's like a sieve, people pouring across. What Mexico is doing is outrageous that we don't do something about it. And Mexico is not our friend. Now, Ford Motor just announced a $2.5 billion plant in Mexico. How does that help us? They make the cars, they employ Mexicans, they make the cars, and they send them over to our country. No tax, no nothing. That means we're not going to make those cars in our country. 2 weeks ago, front page of the Wall Street Journal, big story on Mexico taking a tremendous, $1 billion car plant out of Tennessee. It was going to go to Tennessee, big German company, was going to go to Tennessee, it was all set, and then out of the blue, Mexico swiped it, they took it. They gave them all sorts of things, and now it's being built in Mexico. More people employed. And then they treat us like garbage at the border. They laugh at us. They laugh at us. So Mexico, you have to be very careful with, because Mexico is treating us like a bunch of babies, because we're led by people that truly don't know what they're doing. They're rank amateurs. They're rank amateurs, and I will say this, whether it's Benghazi, whether it's IRS, whether it's any of the many things that you see that are going wrong with our country, the executive orders are an outrage. We have a president that can't lead. He said, the hell with it, I'm not going to do this anymore. I want to rest and I want to do other things, including going out play golf. This guy played hundreds of rounds of golf. I shouldn't complain. I own golf courses all over the world. So I shouldn't be angry at him. It's good. Except it's not good, because he should be doing other things. But he signs executive orders because he's given up. He can't convince anybody to do anything, so he's given up, and he signs on immigration and on other things. You have not seen the last of them. Now, we have a court system that's pretty messy and takes a long time. So he figures, I'll be out of office by the time this stuff is solved. And it's a real, real problem. So I know you have people running, and I've done really nicely in the polls when they put me in polls, but everybody thinks, oh, Trump's not running. He's not running. Why would he run? They think I have a great life. They think I have a wonderful company. I'm not going to run. Why would I do that? Why would I do this one instead? I mean, they think he's having a good time. This is not fun. Believe me, I love you people. I'm not having a great time. It's great, but I'm not having a great time. I can think of other things, many other things, where I could have a good time. I love my company. I have a terrific time running it. But I have children that can take over, and I have executives that are great, and they can run that company. And I will tell you, politicians are never going to solve the problems we have, because the problems we have are so deep-seated, and they're so intractable that a politician doesn't have a clue. For instance, you've heard a lot of people over the last 2 days. Nobody's talking about China taking our jobs. Nobody. Nobody's talking about our jobs are leaving this country. I mean, outside of nursing homes and other things, we're not going to have any jobs in this country. We're not going to have anything. And I know how to bring it back. And I know the people to do it. If it's not me, I wrote the book, The Art of the Deal, said to be the #1 selling business book of all time. Great book. Most of you have read it. That's why you're here. You're wealthy people. I want 10%. But we have people that have to read the book because they don't understand. And when they honor the heads of China and they give them balls in the White House and they put up a tent because they don't have a ballroom, because it's crazy. You know the story. I offered them a ballroom, over $100 million. I called David Axelrod. I said, David, I see you have all the heads of state and all the biggest people from China, and you're in a crummy tent, and it's an old broken tent that I guarantee they paid a fortune for to put up on the lawn. Guaranteed. More money. The guy made his money probably 10 times over from one event. I said, I will build free. Now, because it's the White House, you know, we have landmarking, little things like that I do. I do a lot of it. Old post office, I'm doing a lot of different things. I renovated Grand Central Terminal. I renovated Plaza Hotel. I know about land. Well, said, we'll go out and get the best 5 architects, American architects, by the way, only American architects. I said, and we'll have 5 proposals, and I will build you an incredible ballroom for the White House. It cost me over $100 million, minimum $100, And I will build you the most beautiful ballroom you've ever seen. We'll all decide, we'll have a charrette, what's called a charrette. And we're all going to decide which is the most appropriate one. And it'll be beautiful. And I'm going to build it, and it'll be a great thing for the country. You won't have to use tents anymore. Not that we should be honoring the people from China, because they do nothing but rip us off. But let's just use them as an example. So I said, I will spend over $100 million, whatever it costs, and I'm going to build it free of charge, no charge, nothing. You're going to pick the one you like. I never heard from him. That's the way it is. Never heard from him. Never called back. Never said, oh, gee. Actually, he liked the idea. Then I never heard from him. So that's emblematic of the way our country is. That's emblematic of the way it is going to be for a long time if we keep having politicians in there. So, just to finish, I'm going to do a couple of questions. But if I decide to run, and I think I'm going to surprise a lot of people, if I decide to run, and if I win, I think we'll have a great chance, I will make this country great again. Believe me. And no politician's going to do it. That I can tell you with surety. So with all the people you're listening to, you can forget it. Because politicians are all talk. They're no action. I've dealt with them all my life. It's really easy to make money against politicians. Believe me. And we will make this country great again. Let's have a couple of questions. Go ahead. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, yes, ma'am. Sure, we have a mic for you. Go ahead.
I'd just like to know if you think you can beat Hillary Clinton.
I do. I know Hillary very well. I do. I can beat her, and I think most other people will not. I was I'll be honest with you, I like Mitt Romney. He's a nice person. But I was very, very disappointed in the performance of Mitt Romney because the last month and a half, he disappeared. And I called. I said, why aren't you out there in the rain shaking hands with governors? Or in some cases, kissing governors, right? But shaking hands with governors. Why aren't you doing it? And he said, well, blah, 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 blah. And he didn't do it. He failed. And Obama, give him credit, he was on Jay Leno, he was on David Letterman, he was on every show. Every show. And Mitt Romney wasn't. I remember Sean Hannity was telling me, good guy. He said, I can't get Romney on the show. Now, Sean's a positive force. How can you not get him on the show? But he couldn't get him on the show. And I was very, very disappointed in Mitt Romney because something happened. You know, in sports they choke. Some people choke. That's why when Mitt was thinking about running, everyone said, he's not going to run. I said, really? He's all over the country endorsing senators, governors. Let me tell you, if you're not going to run, you're sitting home watching television. So he was going to run, and I was very strong. I didn't want him to run because he choked, and you can't allow that to happen again. If I got the nomination, I would put up a fight like nobody's ever put up because we have to save the country. Our country's in deep trouble. You know, we owe $18 trillion. Thank you. We owe $18 trillion. It's going to soon be $22 trillion. When it hits $24 trillion, that's the magic number. That's called the point of no return. A couple of you folks from the Wharton School of Finance, I see you nodding. You understand. $24 trillion is the point of no return. It's going to be very hard to come back. And with Hillary, it's basically 4 more years of Obama. And you can't allow it to happen again. Okay? Thank you. We have a question on this side? Yes.
Hi, Mr. Trump.
Hi.
I guess the question I have is, obviously, you don't care much for politicians.
Not too much. Oh, well, I do. I like them. I make a fortune off politicians. Why wouldn't I like them? They're easy.
I understand, but if you're going to look for a running mate, where would you look for a running mate? What kind of a person would you look for a running mate?
Well, sadly, I'd probably pick a politician, but hopefully I'll be around. Okay?
And in your cabinet, I'm assuming that you would go with businessmen like yourself.
It's actually a great question. So we have people negotiating for us that are diplomats and people that don't know how to negotiate. That, you know, negotiation is a great art, a great skill. And we have people that they don't have a clue. And the other night, and I must say, and I like her, I think she's Carolyn Kennedy, I saw her in 60 Minutes. But I saw her in 60 Minutes. And it was an amazing piece because they said, how did you get this job? She said, well, I was looking for something, and I went to the White House. This is true. Anything. They said, well, how would you like to be the ambassador to Japan? She said, really? Could I do that? They said, yeah, how would you like that? Now, I'm not knocking her. I think she's nice. She's actually a good friend. I mean, Ivanka likes her, and when Ivanka likes somebody, that means she's good, okay? Because Ivanka's a great person. But my daughter likes her. I mean, yeah, she's nice, but she's not talented at what you have to do. And I see Abe, and I see all the people from Japan. I know some of them. I've dealt with these people for a long time. I deal with a lot of them. Bank of China, the biggest banks in the world are in my building. I deal with the Chinese. I made a fortune. I mean, you'll see that if I put in my statements. I made a fortune against China. I say against, not with, against. Hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. But I see all these guys, and on 60 Minutes, they're really pushing around and say, oh, come over here, come, and she's doing all this stuff. Then she talks about trade. She doesn't know about trade. What I would do, to answer your question, I'd go to Wall Street. I know all of the killers on Wall Street. I know the great ones. I know the ones that are highly overrated, like some of the media is overrated, and some are great, and some are terrible, by the way, but some are overrated. But I know all the great deal people. And believe me, I know them. And there are plenty that are overrated. And I know the bad ones. But I know the best. And some of them are names you've never heard of. And I'd get these guys to go and negotiate. I'd say, you've got China. Make a good deal. China doesn't have a chance. This isn't with Carolyn. This isn't with... These are the best. And you know, we have the best in the world. We don't use them. We don't use our best, our brightest, and our sharpest. And it's a big, big problem for our country. And just so you know, with countries like China and others, especially the Asian countries, with these countries, this isn't based on niceness. This isn't based on, oh, gee, they have a wonderful personality, or they helped somebody, or they gave campaign contributions, and therefore they got a job, which is the way most of it happens, frankly. But this isn't about that. This is, in those countries, they take the smartest, the one who is winning, and that's what we have to deal with. So we can't have these babies that don't have a clue negotiating deals. We have all the cards against China and other countries, because without us, they would have a depression the likes of which you've never seen. Believe me, we have the cards. We just have people that don't know that we have the cards. It's like with Iran. How do you cut off sanctions and then go into a negotiation with Iran? What you do is double and triple the sanctions and go. That's why they're laughing at us. I mean, they go back, they're dancing in the streets. This guy's become a hero. And he's saying everything we said is a lie, that none of this stuff is going to happen. We have a great agreement. You'd think after seeing, if somebody did that to me, I'd say, you know what, maybe you're right. The deal is off. I can't believe that they're so brazen. They go in, I'd say, you're fired. But this guy, thank you. That's very nice, thank you. But how do you do that? How do you negotiate with people that make a deal? And then they do that. Terrible. Okay, another question, then we'll call it quits. Yes, sir. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Several years ago, you were going to build a restaurant down at Jones Beach in New York.
Right.
And our wonderful governor gave you a miserable time.
Right.
And I understand...
Well, he was okay, but go ahead.
I understand why you pulled out of that deal. But what concerns me is there were a lot of people on the island who were fighting for you.
They always wanted it.
But after Hurricane Irene and Superstorm
Hurricane Sandy.
Well, between the two of them,
right.
Quite clearly the basement of that building would have been...
I think it would have been good, but you know, I'll tell you what happened. I was going to do it. I was all set to start construction, and then Hurricane Sandy came along and wiped out Jones Beach, wiped it out, where you wouldn't have been able, you weren't even allowing cars, and you know, the whole thing. And frankly, my insurance company offered me a deal that I couldn't refuse. Does that make sense? Because I'm a business, I talk turkey. They offered me a deal. I said, wow, that's pretty good. That's better than I can do if I build it. Why should I build it, okay? Does that make sense? But, Governor, I'll tell you, Cuomo, I'm not a big fan of what's going on with fracking and all the things that they're screwing up in New York. But they actually treated me, they wanted me to do that deal. But when Hurricane Sandy came along, I decided not to do it because Jones Beach was just wiped out. And as you know, it still hasn't recovered. How about we'll take one more, because that's a very local question. We'll do one more question. Go ahead, sir. Nice looking guy. Go ahead, scream it. You're hired. Thank you. That's what I want to hear. Thank you. I couldn't have asked for a better question. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I really appreciate your enthusiasm, the crowd. You're terrific. And we're going to make this country great again. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.